What's this? Get alive!
What was announced as an elaborate April Fool's joke back in 2019, Yakuza Like a Dragon takes the action brawler series back to the drawing board to be reimagined as a classic-style JRPG. Set in an entirely new location with a colourful new cast of characters, the genre switch and fantastic English localization is set to shake things up for new fans and old alike. Yakuza Like a Dragon is the story of 40-year-old Ichiban Kasuga, the video game-obsessed, brash, frizzy-haired, hot-blooded ex-Yakuza. Sent to prison 18 years ago, Ichiban finds the world not quite how he remembers it after being released in 2019. Attempting to reunite with his family, he's betrayed by his patriarch, cast out, and it's up to Ichiban with the help of his new friends to work out exactly why he's been excommunicated and left for dead. Longtime fans of the series and the trials and tribulations of the Tojo clan may find the story shocking, especially the fates of some of your favourite characters. It's nice to see more reverence paid to them in this entry than in any of the entirety of Kiryu's final chapter. Based on the real-life city Isazaki-cho, this marks Yakuza's biggest overworld map to date. The city of Isazaki Ijincho is way more spacious than any of the previous games, giving it an almost open-world feel. With the increased size, it can sometimes be annoying to simply explore, especially with the high encounter rate, and by the end I was just avoiding battles altogether. While other cities do make an appearance, they don't feature heavily outside of the main story, leaving them weirdly barren compared to their usual rich array of content. Ijincho is gorgeous at first glance, but looking too hard at any one thing, you can notice the many cut corners of the Dragon engine, especially in 4K. Muddy textures with models that look like they were pulled from the PS1 generation are constantly in view, making them a stark contrast against the beauty of the well-rendered scenery and characters. None of that overly detracts from the experience though, and for the most part, Yakuza Like a Dragon runs at a consistent 30 frames per second on PS4 and Xbox One X, with 60 frames per second or a 4K 30 mode available on Series X exclusively. The Xbox One, however, has serious issues hitting even 30 frames per second, sometimes dipping well below 15.
I've been walking in someone else's footsteps for years, and now they're washed away.
For
the first time in a mainline game since Yakuza 1, Yakuza Like a Dragon has a full English dub with the team really going the extra mile, redoing the lip sync for all the characters to match up in both Japanese and English with a unique translation and localization track. It's a great touch that really adds to the dub, making it feel more authentic instead of just an afterthought. After spending a significant time playing through in both languages, it was hard for me to choose a preferred version. Most purists will want to stick with the original Japanese cast, but if you're a newcomer to the series or have nostalgia for the original Yakuza 1 dub, the localization team have gone to great lengths to not only make this the best in Sega history, but even brought back most of the original English cast to voice returning characters. Throughout the game, you'll grow your bonds between your teammates through battling, minigames, or finding unique talking spots around the city that will eventually let you access the Drink Link system. This will give Ichiban the chance to sit down with his teammates and learn more about them individually. Each of these unique scenes gives you a better idea of the characters and their unique relationship with Ichiban and why they joined the team. They're the most grounded part of the game, really endearing you to each character. As you level up your bonds, you'll gain team-based abilities and allow party members to gain experience even when they're not in the active party. So focusing on your relationships is well worth the reward. I've never felt more connected to a cast of characters in the entire series. The core of a Yakuza title relies on the combat, and this is where most people will be split. The change from brawler to a pure RPG will be hard for many to swallow. Thanks to a fast-paced, participative JRPG battle system, it does its best to keep you engaged during fights, with prompts appearing when selecting your actions that will enhance the attack strength of each. While these seem like a great addition at first, with so many battles happening, you also have the option to go into the settings and disable the button prompts altogether. Doing so caused each attack to always act as if you hit the correct inputs with perfect timing every time. This way, all you'll need to focus on is your strategy and timing button presses for defense. It's a great accessibility addition, but makes the combat somewhat less engaging, but more like a traditional RPG. There's even a knockdown mechanic to allow for critical hits if you can land the regular attack before your enemy stands back up. This is great at first, but at higher levels your basic attacks and targeting weaknesses do more damage than a grounded critical. The biggest frustration found in the battle system is the inability to manually position your characters during their turns. Everyone on the battlefield will move all the time, meaning you'll need to hope they're in just the right position to pull off environmental moves, or that no one wanders into your path while trying to land a critical hit. If an enemy gets in the way while you're executing a move, they can attack, causing you to stumble and skip your turn. Most enemies also have an inherent weakness to certain attack types, fist, gun, sword, electric, ice, etc., which are all kept track of in your Soji decks. Some of the later enemies have so much health and no weaknesses, it can turn even a small encounter into a 20-minute throwdown for almost no experience. Near the end of the game, unless it's a rare high XP enemy, the better option is to just run away and conserve MP instead of even bothering to fight. Another key aspect to achieving victory is the Poundmates App, the game's summoning system. For a small fee, you can call a bunch of allies that you'll earn throughout the game by completing sub-stories to come to your aid. These will be crucial when you're in a pinch and need the extra firepower or to restore your group's MP all at once. Each summon is over the top, and trying to earn them all is totally worth it. Ichiban and the crew gain access to a job system, allowing them to gain unique skills tied to the job they currently have active. With each job having about 40 levels each, with at least 5 jobs per character and no way to easily know which skills are worth it, you'll end up relying on either grinding out or using a guide to know what's worth your time. Each class requires unique weapons. Each of these weapons will need to be either crafted or bought separately, but each class does a great job of feeling unique, and over-the-top moves add to the chaos of battle. But once you've gained access to team skills at later levels, it's hard not to just rely on a couple of moves that wreck every enemy instead of strategizing. The weakest part of Yakuza Like a Dragon is its pacing. While some may argue that a JRPG should be long and the grind is part of the experience, it just felt like it had too many moments where you would reach a climax and then hit a wall as you would be many levels lower than the game expects you to be. The expectation is to grind. Grind your character levels, grind your job levels, grind your bond levels, grind money to upgrade your shop and weapons. All of this can bring you to a halt quickly, with frustration and boredom setting in right when the game is getting good. No longer can you rely on a last minute heal to help you through battle, as once Ichiban falls, you'll need to spend half of your remaining cash to retry a battle from the beginning, or leave the fight entirely and work your way through the repetitive designated grind dungeons to get on par with whatever you're up against. Basic weapons can be bought, but for the best you'll need to make them yourself. This is where the weapons shop comes in. To forge the best weapons in the game though, you're going to need to make about 30 million yen per weapon, and the crafting materials to make them work. These materials can be bought at stores around the city or scavenged inside the grinding dungeons. Of my 70 hours of playtime in Yakuza Like a Dragon, only about 20 hours were spent on the story or sub-story content. Most of the time was spent running the same bland dungeons over and over with a 3-hour blackjack break and 8 hours of property management and kart racing. There's a ton to love in Yakuza Like a Dragon outside of the JRPG mechanics. Minigames make their return, with the big ones this time being Dragon Kart, a take on Mario Kart, can collecting where you ride your bike around the city grabbing scraps, classic cinema having you keep Ichiban awake through some great parodies of classic movies, and property management, which charges Ichiban to turn a small sweet shop into an international business empire. Not to mention the return of old favorites like shogi, mahjong, pachinko, baseball, all Club Sega games, and karaoke, which is now fully localized with English voice tracks.
And you start to wonder if the world would be better off if you died. I have those.
Not to mention the little collectible CDs of Sega history found around each city. Out of the last few games, this is easily the most fun I've had with the side content since Yakuza 0. The sub-stories, characters, and city are fantastic. Some of the crazier fights could only work in an RPG and are easily some of the funniest in the series' history. Each part of the game oozes charm, and it's just as funny and quirky as always. Even the dumbest story twists can have you on the verge of tears just from having such a well-developed group of characters. For an RPG, what Riga Gotoku Studio have crafted with this title is astonishing. If Yakuza does continue down this path, there's a few things I would love to see ironed out in terms of grinding and story pacing, and while they may not always pay off in the way expected, it looks like the series is in good hands with Ichiban Kasuga.
Huh?